So if anybody would like to in the future, well, no, I'm not going to record things. And just say that I'd like to say that Beverly Ikier, Miss Beverly Ikier, established Osteofitness and massage therapies, which focuses on helping clients with a variety of musculoskeletal conditions to improve their quality of life. Her clients are encouraged to expand their vision for their wellness and work toward reaching specific milestones. Ikier Osteofitness and Massage Therapies presents a combination of many therapeutic exercise and massage techniques that Ms. Ikier has studied and developed over many years of practice. Included are integrated health modalities for restoring function activities of daily life and better athletic performance using a natural approach. Ms. Ikier's training and background include receiving her RN at McGill and Royal Victoria Hospital in Canada. Ms. Ikier then spent 2 years in postgraduate studies at the Montreal Neurological Institute and the National Hospital for Nervous Diseases in London. Her massage background comes from her experiences in the medical field, along with 20 years as a nationally certified massage therapist, exercise instructor, and educator of bone strengthening under the tutelage, I imagine, of Dr. Miriam Nelson, PhD from Tufts University. Is that right?
Yes.
Beverly? Okay,
Yes.
great. And she is a super certified personal trainer with the National Council of Strength and Fitness and was also certified with the Arthritis Foundation for 5 years. She's recently become board certified in muscular therapy and body work. Would you please welcome our speaker tonight, Ms. Beverly Ikier.
So is it my turn?
It is.
It is. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Shelley. I'm excited to do this, not only because I have a passion for osteoporosis and how to work with it, but also this new challenge of Zooming, which is rather new to me. This is my first one. All right. So first of all, I want to thank Shelley and Lillian for putting this together. And I also have to thank my assistant, Gabrielle, who has done the technical end of things and has done the graphics for the PowerPoint.
Great. Thank you.
I'm in Concord, Massachusetts, and I'm currently with the Emerson Hospital Steinberg Wellness Center. And we'll be leaving there in just a few days to open up my own practice just a few yards down the road. So I'm pretty excited about the growth of this program and the growth of the interest in osteoporosis. When I first started speaking about osteoporosis, somebody actually asked if it was a Greek island. So we've come a long way from there, haven't we? And I do know that the interest in osteoporosis is well-founded because when women come to me, they already know a lot about it. There's been a lot of self-education, and I appreciate that. But I also know that there's a lot of confusion, and I know that osteoporosis is multi-layered, and I know that osteoporosis takes years to understand, especially your own particular brand of it, because so many factors play into bone density, not just whether you exercise or not just whether you manage your stress or not just because you didn't have sun. It really is a combination of the landscape in your whole body, the landscape of how your organs function, and there's so many things that can cause bones not to grow. And I'm always, actually, all of my speeches are done live. And the first thing I ask my audience is, how many people have osteopenia? How many people have osteoporosis? How many people have had a fall? How many people have fractured? How many people have an active lifestyle? And I get hands up just about in all categories. And there's always a big question to me is, if somebody is physically active, very strong, why do they have osteoporosis? That always has been a question in my mind. And as I'm doing research with this for the International Osteoporosis Foundation, I hope that this question will be answered through my pursuits. So I guess you've heard enough about me. The reason I have branched out into this holistic training is because in working with the population that's had a ripe life, most people have a little more to deal with than their bones. And the Arthritis Foundation actually gave me a lot of information about how to handle joints. So everything that I do in exercise has a filter through the Arthritic Foundation. So therefore, everything is joint friendly. One of the things that is important about osteoporosis is that it's a slow moving acquisition and it's a slow moving reversal. So I think that if you're going to be in a program for a long time and dedicated to it, it should really be fun. And there should be some support system. And I'm so thankful to you, Shelley, for this support group. I wish there were more, or maybe we'll make yours bigger. How's that? But definitely people have to change some of their lifestyle. And it's hard, especially if you're living with somebody who is au contraire. And that's why we have a lot of lectures. We have a lot of newsletters in my business. We have recipes every week that come out to just stimulate, new, improved attitudes toward you being in control of your bone health. Now, the exercise, where's my book? This is Miriam Nelson. I studied with her on 2 rounds, and she was with the Tufts Department of Science and Nutrition. This came out in the late 90s. I'm sure most people are familiar with it, but she definitely was showing that exercise that she had designed would help improve bone health. And it was a pleasure to work with her. And I've since taken the skeleton, shall we say, of her program, and I've embellished it. And of course, over years, I've had to add a few other things, and just to make the exercises a little different and to make them a little challenging, and also to offer a multi-level choice in my classes. So my classes all have some type of choice for different people of different levels to make. Now, remember in the 70s, exercise was just for looking good. I remember working for the YMCA and other little gyms around, and we used to measure every week. You're supposed to lose 2 inches around your hips and your waist. And that was the purpose of exercise. And then Dr. Cooper came along from Texas, and he had brought to the world the importance of exercise for heart health. And that was all the rage. You remember that? And everybody was doing aerobics for heart health. And then there came in 1989, you can read the rest, showing that exercise could improve bone health. And I love that idea because as a nurse, I was raised in the era of drugs and surgery. And as I went into exercise, it was all about how you should look. So I was gripped when I saw that exercise now had a medical application. And I continue to be excited about it. Now, bone, we reach our peak bone. You know what? I don't want to go into too much of the science because this is all about exercise. But I want you to know a little bit how exercise does build bone. Exercise puts a positive stress on the bone. And this, as you can read, stimulates the osteoblasts that build new bone. And it has a slowing effect on the osteoclasts that clear away the dead cells. So it's definitely a science. And if you put force on a bone that's brittle, if you put a muscular force on a bone that's full of holes, if you put muscular force on a bone that has very, very little bendability, there's a chance of fracturing it. So the science behind what Tufts did was have the exercise do just so much, just come to the limit of challenging the bone. And then the bone in self-defense will build new cells. But you could not take somebody with osteoporosis and just recklessly have them lift a 10-pound weight. You couldn't take anybody with osteoporosis and say, exercise is good for you. Let's run around and let's carry 10 pounds behind us. That's not going to build the bone. The science is it has to be enough force to just trigger the bone to say, are we on the verge of fracturing? We might be. We better build up some new bone to prevent that. And that's the point at which you build bone. And Tufts took the amount of force from the muscle and they translated it to a feeling of extreme fatigue. And once that feeling of extreme fatigue is reached, then one does two more. And that would equal the force that's safe to build bone, but not too much to fracture it. You understand that? Okay. Because somebody with osteoporosis, if they just twist to reach salt, then they can fracture. So it's a very delicate situation. And I find that what keeps me going is the positive results. I have a lot of graphs showing the increase in the T-scores. I show a frame of time. I show the frame of time that they were not in my class, and then when they're in my class, and we show the graphs increasing as they're in my class. So there's quite a few doctors in the area that are pretty excited about this, and the endocrinologists especially. They would want to have a pharmaceutical assistance in this condition, but they also understand the importance of exercise. And so I'm always delighted to give the doctors a report. They to call me and say, wow, Mrs. So-and-so is doing really well, or even Mr. So-and-so, because now we're seeing men with osteoporosis. Now this it's a strengthening exercise that works. Cardio is good for your heart and your brain, and stretching is good for relaxation and mobility, and all of those other types of modalities are essential for the human body. But we're focusing on strengthening tonight. And I don't know how many of you know about training with weights, but there is strength training that increases your muscular force and endurance, and it has to be done very gradually. Now, weight training uses the body's own weight, such as a squat. No equipment. You just stand. If you can bend your knees, fine. Slowly bend your knees down. You stand back up again. That's a squat. Or if you had one foot in front of the other, that would be bending the knees, coming up again, or taking a step. That would be a lunge. And those are, you could take anywhere on a vacation because you do not need any equipment. However, we like to use resistance training because people can mark their progress. They can say, wow, I started off with 2 pounds. And for some reason, within a year, look, I'm doing 8 pounds and I think I'm ready for 9. The strength builds up very slowly, but it is progressive. And that is the key word. It has to be progressive resistance of some sort. So the monitoring of the resistance is important. And that's why I like to use dumbbells that have numbers on them. And we also use leg weights. And we know how many pounds are on our ankles. I think that people get excited when somebody goes up in weight. We all clap. We are just so excited if somebody's improved their endurance. And then we have, I think we don't use any other equipment actually, except balls, but that's another story. It's not for strengthening. So there's a lovely pair of hand weights. And I think that some people have arthritis in their thumbs. I know that for a fact they do. So gripping the weight is often difficult. So we do have wrist cups, and that just straps on with Velcro, and then they can free their fingers, and they can still have the resistance going into the muscles that would be used by lifting up the arm with the wrist cuff on. Here's some wonderful muscles. Muscles are everywhere, all over your body, and they overlap each other. And sometimes, you need a lot of exercise for one heavily endowed area, such as the hips. We have so many muscles crisscrossing around the glutes and whatnot, but we also have a large set of muscles that span the neck to the sacrum on either side of the vertebra. And so it's very challenging because of the different sizes of muscles. Different body parts often need a different weight. So quite often, and in most cases, my members have learned to set up their weight station with 2 or 3 sets of weights. And maybe they need something different for their wrist, So Everybody is specifically meeting a challenge with each muscle set, if need be. Some people just do 10 pounds for everything, but we definitely honor where one muscle is weaker, and we'll give it maybe a 4 pound if some other muscle happens to be working at 7 pounds. So I think extreme fatigue is it's a term in the business. Complete fatigue is when the muscle gives out completely and the person collapses, and that happens. You know, you'll see it. It just happens in construction and things like that. We don't do it in our class. If you back up the truck, you'll have conditioning and toning. Conditioning and toning is lovely for muscles. It actually could get you into the Miss America contest because you would look so awesome, but it wouldn't necessarily mean you had strong bones. So extreme fatigue is a specific amount of feeling because it represents the specific force needed to stimulate bone growth. And Miriam Nelson, thank you very much, designed this Strong Women Stay Young program for very active women. And I have a feeling because this program is at 7 p.m., many of you must be in the workforce. But actually the timing of this is 20 repetitions is the average amount of time it should take one to reach extreme fatigue. All right. And if you're working up to 30 reps and 40 reps and you still, you know, wonder when am I going to feel it, then your weight is too light. And if you are at repetition number 3, you need help, then the weight is too heavy and you could injure yourself. You see where the muscles attached with tendons, they can tear. So, you know, it's a very true. You have to have a really good instructor who can make the program safe as well as interesting as well as effective. Now, osteoporosis is the thinning of the bones, and I think that you can have it probably in a lot of bones, but we don't measure the tibia and the fibula. We don't measure a lot of bones in the body, but the 4 most common sites are scanned routinely, and we have hip, then they specifically go to neck of the femur, then we have total spine, then they pull out lumbar spine, and we have wrist. If the wrist has had a fracture, if the person has had hip replacement, then they will go to the wrist. But typically the wrist is not one of the top 4. And up until now or recently, osteoporosis was scanned. You could be scanned every 2 years. And now it seems to be easier if you're proving an intervention. Medicare is now allowing you to have a bone scan yearly. And by the way, it takes about 355 days to significantly build bones. So you're in it for the long haul. But it also gives you a better aging program. So I think it's great to just stay strong. Okay, we have balance and proprioception. Very simply, I'll let you read that, all right? So the Canadians have a wonderful phrase. I think it's from their Bone Fit. They say, too fit to fracture. Don't you love that? I'm not using it. I'm just telling you that they have this printed, too fit to fracture. But balance is one way to fracture because you'd fall down. And proprioception is essential. It's a sense within ourselves that we can develop so that we can be safe without vision. And that would mean dark rooms. That would mean with masks and glasses, people had terrible vision, and you have blocked ears. There's all kinds of issues within your head that could cause imbalance. So when we balance, we do separately balance exercises and proprioception. And if you wanted to just quicken it up, you could do your balance exercises with your eyes open and then close them, and you'll have proprioception. It's very important to develop legs, calves, and feet. Strong ankles, they play a major role in balance. They play a major role in stability, and they play a major role in mobility. And quite often people have weak ankles due to old fractures or sprains. So we take care of them in class. We do ankle range of motion. We do ankle strengthening front and back. And they're standing on one leg. Standing on one leg, people think is just for balance. That's not all of it. The rest of it is the leg upon which you are standing is getting stronger. So that's a 2-for-1. That's a good exercise. And I don't know if you all know about tandem. Tandem is putting, say, the heel of the right foot in front of the toe of the left foot, almost as though you were walking the plank. And some of those exercises are leery for some people. What I'd like you to do is think of tandem and then just take an inch or so and widen your feet. If you can't do a strict tandem, then modify it. You eventually will be able to do a tandem. And I definitely know that posture plays a major role in balance. Right. This lady was doing touch control. Now we do have the exercises for osteoporosis. I think I have probably 300, and it takes a full hour for me to get through balance, proprioception, strengthening, and some stretching. We do have uh, a course that rolls, it starts and then it doesn't stop till the hour's up. But everybody feels that it's benefiting them in many ways and they never have any pain. But a lot of people have come from other exercise disciplines, and we're probably of the era of crunches and sit-ups. We even had people sitting on our feet back in the 60s so that you wouldn't pop up. I don't know what they sat on our feet anyways, or you'd put them under a table. But the main thing here is there's a semilunar curve in the upper spine, the thoracic spine, and that's bad because it's compressing the vertebrae in the front. So this is contraindicated. It's called flexion of the spine, crunches and sit-ups. And I also have to swing over to the Pilates 100 and the Pilates roll up and the Pilates jackknife and the Pilates cross elbow to knee. Those exercises involve a spinal position that is very, very dangerous for somebody with osteoporosis in their spine. If you are a Pilates student, it's an excellent discipline. You just try to do all of their exercises with your back on the floor and you use your legs, all right? The little bicycle, that's a very easy exercise. It works the core, and it is safe. So we have the lifting of the spine that comes up, but we're also going to see this in a spine when we're standing, when people lean over a computer, when people, leaning over to take the wash out of the dryer. You see that rounded spine, and that would be something to train against because that is very, very dangerous. So that's the forward flexion. There's another angle of the spine that's pretty critical, and that would be twisting of the spine, going left and right. And we have the golf swing as an example, and also the backhand in tennis. And some people just like to take weights and swing because they think it's going to work their waist. But if you have osteoporosis, twisting left and right with a weight could be very dangerous. So we're going to just give you some examples here. This is Carrie, she's my model, and this is a class I teach in Lexington. And Carrie is, there are so many exercises that are excellent for building bone. With osteoporosis, we definitely have to be aware of the ones that are dangerous for osteoporosis. So the spine is what we're going to be addressing right now, because there always is a chance of compression fractures throughout the vertebra as somebody is bending forward. It's called forward flexion. So what I want to show today is some of the exercises that would be harmful for somebody with osteoporosis, and I'm going to match it up with what would be a good exercise for that spot. So let's begin. Forward flexion. A good example of bending forward would be holding your dryer. So Carrie, how would areas to an osteoporotic spine. So what we do with this exercise is we don't do it. It's really stages if you're adding force. There's the golf club and also the backhand tennis. Can you show that? There's a force coming down, okay? And then the backhand tennis, same way, similar, yeah, very similar. So just be aware that it's not safe, and if you have osteoporosis in your spine, there are other ways to have fun. That's plenty. Okay. The floor area is coming up now, so please be aware that floor exercises can also injure an osteoporotic spine. A lot of people like to get on the floor for many reasons. Some days like to lie on the floor. Many ways to get down to the floor as well. There are good ways that I'm here to show you the best way to get to the floor if you want to lie on your back. The first position is side sitting. She's sitting on her hip. She's going to go right down, so she's in line. Shoulders. Now she rolls on her back, and that's a safe way to protect the spine. If you are doing any other kind of drop, crunch or sit up. So let's go crunches and sit ups. We'll just do it that one. Yeah. So there she is. She's wrapping in that spine, that version of blowing the dryer and a sit up. There's one exercise where you crawl up your thigh and you start going into this, and that's one that we don't do with osteoporosis. We have other ways of strengthening the floor. Yes, we have at least 100. But on the floor, we're going to show you one because it's effective, it's working, and it's safe. So would you like to just show us a very slow bicycle? So she's maintaining a core contraction, she's breathing, and she's extending slowly. And thank you. So how would you get up from the floor? Oh, I would like to take you that supine spinal twist. It's a very common stretch. It feels good. I used to do it all the time. I love it. But now we don't do it because it's a spinal twist. So over to one side. There. This is often used as a stretch, and it's also often used as an exercise to go back and forth. So any version of this. Now that you want to get up, Carrie, want to think about it? She reverses. Went back to her side. She stands up. Stands tall. Shoulders back. Very nice. You can pull your shoulder blades together. That's a very good way to just tap into posture. Now can you do the warming? World. Now you can do the side. So that's an excellent stretch. You stretch in this plane and not compromise the angling of the movement. So I think, Carrie, that's enough. Yeah, I mean, there are so many habits that we develop over the years of bending and keeping things up. Just trying to change one is hard. Change is very hard. But we're giving you an example of the dryer. And going down by the side and onto your back. You're supposed to get up. And just some of your floor exercises with Pilates if you want to just lying on the floor. That would be very helpful. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you have fun reading your details. So now swimming is considered the best exercise because it uses almost every muscle in the body. However, you'd want to just try and get the movement of your arms from the shoulder girdle around your shoulder blade. You don't want to be twisting at the waist and going up and down, um, and really rotating at the waist, like we talked about, that would be bad for your spine. Anything else like the breaststroke and actually even the backstroke is excellent. But if you're doing the freestyle, then you want to just try and keep as much of your body in the water and have most of your mobility coming from your arms. And walking is excellent. Walking is so good for your soul. It's so good for your health. It's so good for your heart. It's so good for your leg muscles. It pumps blood up and down, but it does not build bone. So if you're walking, I would like to say do not add weights. Do not add vests. Do not add leg cuffs. Those are very unsafe ways of walking. And I've had it in my practice that people have thought, I think I'll go for a walk and put leg cuffs on. And then they trip on a brick. And it really is a very bad accident. So we keep those under supervision in the gym. There's the side bend. And I think most of this has been said. I'm not going to go over all the details of the names of everything, but we like yoga because it includes posture building, disciplines, and balance improvement. And meditation, of course, often goes along with yoga, and that is good for stress. Exercise alone cannot build bone without the nutrition. And I'm that's going to let you go to the National Osteoporosis Foundation's website, but in a nutshell, the calcium should not be primarily taken by supplement. Calcium for this age group, our age group, would be 1,200 milligrams per day. And you wouldn't want to take more than 300 from supplements, 900 from food. I have several vegans in my classes, and they actually get 1,200 milligrams of calcium per day from food. Mind you, they spend a lot of time cooking and chopping and a lot of time in the kitchen, but they do it. They take no supplements, but 300 would be okay. We have dairy products that they sort of are front stage, but we also have people who have dairy intolerance. So then we go to some of the non-dairy products, some of the nut milks, almond milk, and then of course we have salmon and collard greens. Beans are a very good source of calcium. So the categories for calcium would be dairy, beans, greens, and nuts and seeds. And vitamin D, I think that the National Osteoporosis Foundation is still recommending 800, and I see doctors prescribing up to 2,000 international units per day. And I don't know why, but I think there's another medical reason why. But you do have to have a good amount of vitamin D for the transport and the digestion of calcium and the transport of it into the bone. So definitely try to get a blood test. Try to have your vitamin D levels taken and then discuss it with your doctor. And we have a few sources from food for vitamin D. As you can see, egg yolks, orange juice, fatty fish. Sunlight in New England is not sufficient. And if a food is fortified with vitamin D, the nutritionists at Emerson have said that that is okay because it's blended. It's not as though they took a tablet and crushed it and put it in the orange juice. It's the way that they integrate vitamin D into the food that makes it okay. Magnesium is always fun. Magnesium is a great nutrient because it helps in preventing cramps. It also helps the metabolism of calcium. So we have to have magnesium 340 per day. And there's some sources, whole grains, leafy greens, nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds come up a lot, and so do leafy greens. A lot of people can't eat nuts and seeds, but there's enough other things around that you can get your magnesium done. And 340 per day is really quite easy to attain. Vitamin K1 and 2, or one of or 2. K1 is from green leafy vegetables, and K2 comes from animal protein. So, the pack of cards in your hand, that is the standard amount of animal protein that would be healthy. Now, stress is all abound. I think that stress is, um, it's something that everybody deals with in different proportions. And stress goes up and down. Stress can be triggered just by one phone call. Stress can be triggered just by one encounter with somebody out there in the store. Stress can be triggered just by a thought. So the way that we can handle stress is we can't handle its peaking, but we can handle it in ways to bring it down and have it have less impact on our organs and our bone building. There's a very, very famous doctor at Harvard Medical School. Her name is Dr. Merle LaBeouf, and they call her the queen of osteoporosis. And she emailed me and said increased cortisol is associated with lower bone density. So she wanted me to tell my clients, my members, my students, that stress is definitely an important part of life to manage, not just nutrition and exercise. Now it's stress management. And stress management actually goes across the board and can help all of your organs. And of course, we have exercise at the top of the list, and meditation and yoga. Meditation has 1,000 ways. I think one of the things would be to simply go into nature and feel the air and feel the sun. And if there's sun, accept it, embrace it, and do some Benson breathing. Dr. Herbert Benson wrote the relaxation response. That's an inhalation through the nose of 3, and an exhalation through the mouth of 5, and about 10 or 15 minutes. In his book, The Relaxation Response, was to prove that blood pressure can be lowered and maintained. Head tapping is something that I do in my classes, and we basically take the finger pads and we start on bone. Don't you love it? Bone, right here, right there, under your eye. And we start tapping back and forth along that bone, your cheekbone, and then we come into the temples. There's a little fossa or a little depression in your temple. We tap there. Oh, another bone under your eyebrow, and we tap into the nose. Then we tap away from the nose, back to the temple, and then we just tap all over the scalp. And I think that I've just given you a brief map, but it doesn't take too long before you start to feel the relaxation. And this is one of the favorites in my class. They ask for it. Let's do head tapping, all right? And then there's the contract and relax, where you squeeze body parts, fingers, and relax. Shoulders up and relax. This is best done supine, lying on the floor. And it's a great way to get to sleep, or it's a great way to get back to sleep should you wake up and can't get back to sleep. So like I said before, men now have osteoporosis. They get tested a little later, usually around age 70. They will scan a man earlier if there's a fracture in his family, but 70 seems to be about the average age. So I do have several men in my classes. So I'd like to open it up to you now with your questions.
That's great. Would it be possible we could, Gabrielle, leave the screen share so that we can actually see the people a little bit? Oh, okay. If anyone would like to write all that down too.
Oh, I would.
I'm going to take a picture of it personally, and that way I can, if any of you want that, I'll share it with you tomorrow when I make a email report, send a recording to you. Okay, so Um,
Oh, pen gave out.
That's a great picture of you, Beverly, with the sky. I love that.
He was named by my classmates, Bon Jovi.
Wow, that's cute.
That's,
He goes everywhere with me.
that's cute.
Mhm.
I think if everybody has that, I'll send it to you again. Maybe we could just have everybody in a gallery view to be able to see what everyone has for questions.
Okay, should I stop the share now?
Yes, I think it would work.
Okay. All right, they're gonna.
That was wonderful. Oh my goodness.
Is that helpful?
So helpful. Very
Thank you.
good. If you'd like to unmute, ladies, I don't think anybody's got dogs barking or, too badly. I don't think we can hear them. If you'd like to ask Beverly a question, I think she would appreciate knowing what, if you have any questions.
Go
I
ahead.
I have a question. I walk about 3 or 4 miles a day, and you
Good.
said that the walking really doesn't, help the bones?
Well, first of all, walking doesn't have the progressive element. Remember,
Right.
you have to keep, unless you started wearing backpacks and knapsacks or started going uphill
Right.
to do the same level walking every day. It's not a known bone builder.
Okay.
Most of the people that are in my class are walkers and they still have osteoporosis.
Because I was always being told when I went to the doctor about, are you walking, and you should walk at least 3 miles an hour. And, so I'm kind of not surprised to hear this. And I've also heard that from one doctor that I went to that was supposed to be bone specialist that she said you can do all the exercise you want. The bone you have is what you have. You don't build bone. And I mean, I hear a lot of conflicting things with osteo. It's very frustrating.
I did
But
too.
another doctor says, well, no, if you're, like you said, she said, if you're progressively adding weight and reps, you will build bone. So I said, it is possible for me to build bone. It's not just what I have. I try to keep with all these different medicines and things. And she said, no. So is that kind of sounds like that's what your take is on it too, that if I have a total gym at home that I use. So it sounds like me doing squats on that against my own body weight is really a better use of time than walking. Not that I'm going to give it up now, but
No, don't give it up.
yeah,
It's
no,
so
because
good
that's
for
good.
your
That's
inner.
good for stress management.
Okay,
So,
there are a lot of doctors that say exercise does not build bone. There are a lot of doctors who have said that calcium does not help bone. So
Mhm.
there's so many conflicting opinions, but you have to know that I have data.
uh-huh.
That's what I show up to people.
Mhm.
I have graphs that show the T-scores going into normal bone.
Mhm.
And I think that when I work with my classes, we always talk about where is your osteoporosis,
Mhm.
and they all know their spots. And I'll say, okay, you need more of these. But if you have, say, osteoporosis in the neck of the femur, walking will not help it because the neck of the femur is around ball. It needs to have rotation.
Oh, that's
Neck of
exactly where mine is, the worst.
Oh,
in the
there you
femoral
go.
neck.
So you do need some rotational exercises,
Rotational,
like standing, the leg circling.
leg circling. Okay. Because I did go to a physical therapist and he didn't say anything about adding weight. And that's when I thought it didn't sound right.
Well, there's different levels of education and awareness in this
Mhm.
field. It's a brand new field.
Yeah.
It just came out in the 60s. I mean, it's brand new
Mhm.
and the equipment hasn't been around that long. And not everybody has the same level of education.
Mhm.
I've been doing this for 15 years and I work with doctors and I know the pros and cons. And I have known of quite a few women who have been insulted by doctors because they said no to the drugs.
Right.
So I happen to know that my specialty is my signature exercise is for the neck of the femur, and it's circling the leg.
So just
Someday-
taking my leg and making circles?
Well, I think we need to see a whole video of my osteoporosis. I think you need to see the whole hour.
Okay. All right.
And in my classes, if somebody's doing something wrong, I'm right there to correct them. But they all know their spots, and we work in camps. Some people will have all the neck of the femur down there, and we'll have total hip up here and spine
that's
over
good.
there.
That's just what I need. Thank you.
And and then every group, we say there's 4 camps. The wrist people love it because they just sit in the chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I get the camps going, and each camp has a team leader, and they yell out the reps, and I have all the exercises written. Neck of the femur,
good.
this is your group. No, that's not the whole hour. It's just a specialty cut out in the hour, because everybody gets everything general, the balance, the proprioception,
Right.
and then generalized. But I specialize then, and I bring it down to, you have to know where your bones are weak, and you have to know what to do about it. So the list is according to the site of the osteoporosis. So you'd be in the neck group, wouldn't you?
Okay. Yep, I would.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Because I'm in Massachusetts, so I definitely need to hook up with you.
Well,
So-
I do offer, I have consults, and I can write a special program. If you wanted to do it at home, I could
Mhm.
spend an hour with you, and you'd have to bring your bone scan. I go by the bone scan.
Okay, all right.
And then we talk about nutrition, and then
Mhm.
maybe come in once a month if you live far away. But yeah,
Okay, all right. Thank you.
welcome. Did you have a question, Tish?
Yeah, I did. Thank you very much for your information. I just have 2 questions. One is about twisting. So even though like we're not going to like twist, roughly or whatever, however, they do say, or I've heard that like, so Dr. Fishman, I don't know if you know his yoga for
I do.
Yeah, so like he does a twist where you bring your knee in, you're sitting on the floor and you're twisting and you're holding it there. What are your thoughts on that safe twisting?
So yeah, I just have some comments about that book.
Okay, well, I'm just asking you about this exercise.
Pardon?
I'm just asking you about this one exercise. Or you can.
There's quite a few of us who have some questions on some of his exercises.
Okay, do you want to share that?
No,
Okay,
I can't really.
okay, so.
Maybe
so-
listening. No, I would do it. I would do it generically in a private session and never mention his name. I can't say his name and say this is negative.
No, but like what do you, I'm just asking you, I mean, I'm just using him as an example. I do it anyway. Aside from his poses, like my physiotherapist also suggested rotating or twisting it. So you're saying, from what I can gather, that's not a good thing?
Twisting with force.
No, I'm not talking about force, like I'm just twisting, say,
No,
like,
it's not. If you have osteoporosis in your spine, but I can't say to my class, oh, your spine's perfect bone, you can twist. You can't, I can't do that in a class. So we just take a general safety measure is no twisting. And that's okay.
That's what I thought first, but yeah, before this physiotherapist.
We can't just go around and designate people who can twist, because they'll all want to twist, They love those twisting exercises.
Can I just ask you one more question?
Yes.
So like, when you go online or you ask your physiotherapist for a program for osteo,
Yeah.
I see like, actually it's the same guy. So, like some exercises are recommended for people who have osteo or osteoporosis. Like I'm healthy, like I can do exercises the same as a healthy person without osteo. Should I be more cautious?
Because you have osteoporosis
Right.
than somebody who has osteopenia.
No, than a regular person who has strong bone density.
Oh, yeah.
So I need to do them differently than you would tell a regular like a person with regular, like
And
with,
which exercises are you referring to?
his exercises.
Is
Dr.
he an
Fishman.
osteoporosis instructor?
Dr. Fishman.
Oh, him, oh, okay. Bring him on the show, Shelley. I would apply the principle of twisting to any exercise you encounter, and you make the decision.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about regular, like squats and bands and whatever, like just my program also from my physiotherapist. Like, because I have osteo, should I be doing them any differently?
No,
Like I use the bands to bring up the band.
wonderful. The only thing would be no rounded spine, like when you're doing a
Yeah,
squat,
no, absolutely, yeah.
you want to bend from the hip. You know, sometimes people in a squat, I don't know how they end up curled over, but they do. So you want to apply the principles. If you see in the exercise, there's rounding of the spine, or you see yourself in the mirror, cut it out. And then you'd want to make sure you're bending from the hip. Learn that. You know how I teach bending at the hip? You're going to love this. Take an umbrella or a pole or a vacuum wand or a rake. Are you in Canada by any chance?
Yes, I am.
Because you said physiotherapist, and so do I. So I'm going to recommend you take a shovel, okay? A snow shovel. Put it behind your back, in front of your elbows, and stand up tall. And that's called pole walking. And I teach that to every single person that comes in my office. And everybody's posture has increased. Then you keep the pole there and you bend
Where
from
is
the
he
hip.
with the pole? I didn't understand that. By your elbow?
Behind your back.
Oh, behind, yes, okay, I gotcha.
And then it's in front of your elbows. So
Right.
then you bend over. That's teaching you how to bend at the hip and never bending with a rounded spine. So get your umbrellas out, all right? And your
Okay,
snow shovel, Tish, okay?
okay, thank you very much.
Then you can apply that principle to any exercise you see.
Okay.
Somebody else? Lillian?
No, I'm good. I'm loving this.
We should have a glass of milk, don't you think?
I was
Okay,
thinking wine, but sure, milk works.
we haven't done any studies on wine and bone yet. How about Lisa? Lisa?
Well, okay. Well, since you called on me, I'll tell you, I heard an interview today with a doctor at UCLA, Geffen School of Medicine. I listened to a podcast entitled Curbside, and they're internal medicine docs who interview a specialist every week. And this week it was the osteoporosis expert. And I had never heard of her, but she did a great job. If anybody's interested, Shelley, tell me if you want me to send the link. And I even made a note 53 minutes into the interview. She said specifically, we have no data on how much exercise anybody might do to increase bone density. And as we know, there's a lot that's unknown about osteoporosis.
What?
But I've seen two bone docs in Boston, one at Brigham and one at MGH. And I've tried to pin them down about exercise. I had done my own research using PubMed, and I saw that there wasn't really anything substantial. And the Brigham doc said, well, you must walk 15 minutes every day. Okay, I said, well, what about this study? He said, oh, that was a small study. The point is, I think it's important to get the aerobic for Karen, that, you know, that walking is giving you the aerobic.
Sure.
I think it's important to keep our muscles strong. And there is evidence based on laboratory animal studies that bone density can increase. But as far as studies of humans that we can point to, I mean, it's just not there.
Well, look at mine. Look at Tufts University, all right? Look at some of the studies in Italy. Italy
Okay.
does amazing studies on exercise,
But
much
how
more
much,
than this country.
how much benefit? We just don't have enough data to say this is what you have to do to get this amount of improvement. It's all sort of unclear at this point.
Can
but it's
I
good
ask Lisa?
exercise, right?
Lisa,
Are
can
you-
I ask you a question?
Are you going to address that situation, Rika?
Well, I have a question for Lisa because I'm a patient at UCLA.
Oh,
I'm in Los Angeles. Who was the doctor? Was it
no,
Carolyn
I'm
Crandall? Carolyn Crandall?
yes.
Okay. All right.
Did everybody hear that?
Right.
In case you want to look her up.
I'd
'Cause
like
she-
to,
you can find
I'd like
her
to,
on that. Yeah.
I want to address your question, your statement, Lisa. First of all, you know that the normal bone was established to be the 30-year-old who had the perfect life, right? She had lots of sunshine, played hopscotch, skipped, ran, hide and go seek, jump, jump, jump. So she had supposedly healthy bone at age 30, and that's standard upon which they base the World Health Organization established that as our reference point. All right. The thing is how do we know that each one of you had perfect bone at age 30? What if you didn't? Now that means you would start exercising and maybe just barely come up to really, so that everybody's exercise is going to be placed against a different starting point. And I have many people in my practice because I have a lot of years at it. They didn't have sunshine as a child. They stayed home to look after a relative. Some of them were out of school. A lot of them drank Kool-Aid. They didn't have money for milk. There's been a lot of illness in some children. In those days, children were hospitalized for weeks. And so they didn't develop perfect bone by age 30. So there's a problem right there that your osteoporosis, you could have improved bone, but nobody knows from which it was coming because maybe you didn't have healthy bone at age 30. But there are enough studies to prove that the exercise builds bone. And everybody's, as I said, we use the word landscape. Drugs that you take affect how you build bone. And they're also going to affect the exercise effect on your bone. Medications play a big role, and your moods play a big role. If you don't have enough sleep, if you're not digesting the nutrients for calcium and magnesium and K1 and 2 and D3, then you're not going to have equal results. But exercise without the frills is going to build bone, but you have to have the nutrients, and you have to understand maybe you didn't have perfect bone. Maybe you're coming from a lower span than perfect. Maybe you're minus when you're 25. Does that make any sense? Lisa?
Yes, but we're talking about two different things. As far as measurement of the amount of exercise one would need, it's just the research isn't there. I think it's good to exercise. Laboratory animal studies, yes, but no one can tell you how much would raise your T-score, improve your T-score. Listen, I'm not an expert, but yeah.
Basically, the studies and my results are coming from 3 times a week, every second day. And what I see in my work is not everybody puts full effort into it. So you could have 2 people doing bicep curls. One would be really doing extreme fatigue, and other people don't like to exert force. It's their nature. And so I don't, in my classes, I don't have everybody putting the same amount of muscle force against the bone. So their response would be different, even though they're both exercising. Are you exercising now? Are you strengthening, Lisa?
Okay.
Do you have a program right now?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we could talk privately about it. How's that? If you would describe your program to me, that we could discuss it.
Can I?
I'm very unique. I don't know if it would benefit you to hear about what I'm doing.
Sure it would.
I've worked
That's what I do.
specifically with MGH physical therapy on osteoporosis. I currently am in physical therapy for my spine, not with an expert in osteoporosis. She's just a general physical therapist. But I'm looking at the data. I'm looking at the PubMed studies, and I'm listening to Where's Rika? You knew of Dr. Crandall.
I knew of her, but she's not my physician at UCLA. It's interesting. So that's
But
why I
if
was,
you
and
look on PubMed, she's published on
oh, I know who she is.
Yeah.
She was
Okay, now the
actually my,
purpose of my talk tonight was not to go into data, et cetera, all right? I'm writing for the International Osteoporosis Foundation, and that's a whole nother field, and that's a whole nother set of information that is not appropriate for tonight. But I do know that the research goes on and on and on. So stay tuned, Lisa. You're going to get your questions answered, okay? They're still working on it.
You called on me. Just, you
Pardon?
shouldn't have called on me.
No, I think it was meant to be. Who's next?
No, I just want to say that we're all coming into this with our own situations, and don't feel like you have to share that. It's fine, but we really want to say that how there's a few things that I know I've taken from tonight that I really appreciate hearing, because all of us do exercise. It sounded like when we were on previous Zooms together. And for example, I take a class every week in Qigong, and I'm always, we're tapping and doing things like that in Qigong. I thought that was quite interesting. I never realized that was also part of relaxation. But another thing I have a question with, if I can just say this, Beverly, is that I personally have noticed, I was so proud of this, 50 sit-ups every morning.
Mm.
And after a while, I noticed that I was getting pain in my lower back. And I thought, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And I saw another person who is in osteoporosis share an exercise. So I kept doing it, and it put strain on my lower back. I tried that after stopping the sit-ups, and that also was awful for me in pain wise. So I think that was very telling that you spoke about that. I also have heard a lot about those weight vests. I don't know if any of you have, but it was very interesting to me that you said, don't wear those when you're walking. And I thought that makes a lot of sense. So thank you for the such common sense things that you have shared tonight. We all think the warrior pose is fine. And all those yoga things. I'd love to see a list of all the yoga things that you think are bad. If we were to go to your website, for example, Beverly, would we see a list? Because some of us are local.
I think the National Osteoporosis, NOF, has published one.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll look for that. I appreciate that so much.
Shelley, just one thing. Today, the Canadian Osteoporosis Foundation had a webinar on yoga and osteoporosis that was very helpful by a physical therapist, or maybe she was a physiotherapist in Canada. But yeah, so she showed a lot of this stuff.
Anyway, I'm not sure I have a question, but who else does? Does anyone have a question or a comment or something named also gleaned from tonight?
Well, I feel like I've learned a lot in that there can be the exercises can be so specific to what area in particular you have. I've been walking miles, hoping, and I've been picking up the pace and doing 3 miles an hour. And, I've been thinking I've been doing the best I can by my femoral neck, which is, I have a really bad reading. And I come here tonight and I find that, I'm not really doing any spot training for that at all. So this has been the worth, its weight in gold to me.
It has to be targeted and progressive.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm really looking forward to hooking up with you because I've been doing what I thought was right, and I'm not really doing what I should be to get where I want to go. So it's been wonderful. It's been an eye opener. So
Thank you. Well, I know that I have people who started exercising only in their 70s. They had never exercised before.
Mhm.
And they're still exercising at age 94. And when they get a letter from their doctor that says, you now have normal bone, we get all excited. We have a party. How's that? A calcium cafe. I put on these buffets of calcium cafes, we call them. And
Well, you-
everybody makes them, that's bone
I
healthy.
think that people that say they have normal bone after having osteoporosis.
Yes,
Oh my God.
up on the
Wow.
wall in my office.
Wow. That's
So
incredible.
that's what I go by my data. I've got the results and I can show them to anybody. So about 2 or 3 times a week is what seems to work, and the progression, that's what people have a problem doing by themselves sometimes. They never know to go up in weights.
Well, I had another question, because it seems to me I have friends that go to a rheumatologist, an orthopedist, and an endocrinologist for their osteoporosis. I go to an endocrinologist, but they don't specialize in osteoporosis. We don't have that out there, an osteoporosis specialist.
Where are you?
I'm in Massachusetts, Rockport, Massachusetts, but I
Oh,
mean, I go to
oh.
Boston, but if I want somebody for osteoporosis, it's an endocrinologist I get. I don't think there's a doctor out there that really just does osteoporosis.
Well, it's still growing, the awareness, the education is needed, very much needed.
Yeah, so that's why I guess I'm not really surprised tonight to find out that, I need to do something more and a different exercise for my femoral neck, which really scares the daylights out of me because, that's a bad fracture to have. Not that any of them are good, but, it's always 24/7. I'm thinking about it,
Of course, and you don't want to have a fear of falling, that's
Oh, I've already got that.
so. But Shelley, wouldn't it be good if I could show them my exercises sometime?
I think that would be fun.
Would they want it? I don't know. Would you want to see what my program is?
I think that would be fun. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Too.
Yeah. it's
Or would you like to be in the program? Why don't we get together, Shelley?
Yeah, what we could do is maybe have a trial with everyone that wants to on not a Tuesday night, maybe another time. If I find everyone is interested in doing, if enough of you are interested in doing a session to try it, and then just let me know, or also after I send the email out. But I just want to know, does anybody else have a question tonight? Judith or Jane or Tish, go ahead.
Yeah, I just, I'm thankful for the reminder, Bev, about the progressive progression of our exercises, right? And that's something that I really struggle with. I suffer from fatigue, chronic fatigue, so it's tough for me. And also, when you say progressive, so like how far do you go? Like how many, like 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 12 pounds?
But we need to teach more exercise instructors. There's a program coming out. It started in Canada, then it went to California, and I don't know where it is now, but they're trying to have a program that teaches exercises for osteoporosis. It went across Canada. They had it in every province. Then the United States bought it. And what was the name of it, Shelley? Bone Fit? Bone Fit. From Canada.
Yeah, so I used to have a physiotherapist, Margaret Martin. I don't know if you know her, from Ottawa, Canada. That picture that you have on your presentation with the lady balancing, like that's in her book, right? I don't know if that's where you got it, but she did teach me progression. However, that was years ago, and I'm currently not doing that. And I had no idea that walking wasn't a weight-bearing exercise. I had no idea. And
walking sideways would be excellent. We walk sideways a lot. And I teach people to walk up hills sideways. That's excellent for your neck of the femur.
Oh,
And total hip. But we do walking. Some people are now
Yeah.
making their beds and they walk sideways. Getting out of that normal gait is just north and south axis all the time. We have to get, we have to get the hips moving. And so I try to have people try little chores around the house walking sideways, and lo and behold, they're doing it. So
That's-
try walking sideways.
That's an awesome idea.
And up a hill is awesome, really. Hiking improves with my program because we do so many hiking moves in our class, getting different angles of the hip.
So good.
No, Shelley, I don't want to do a Zoom class. I want to do a live class.
Oh, well, a lot of us are not local. That would be the only problem. But we'll try to figure it out. I'll talk with you afterwards.
Okay. If they want it, I don't know if anybody wants it.
Well,
Find it.
we'll do like there's many people that aren't on tonight that weren't able to make it, but they will watch the recording. And you know what? Let me stop the recording. I want to say thank you so much. We want to use
Oh,
the next few minutes just to catch up with everyone. But
it's been-
wasn't it wonderful to have this time to think about
Thank you. And it was a pleasure meeting you all. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I saw 6 people, I think, right?
more? I think there was
Hi to Jane and Judith.
All right.
Mhm.
Hi. Hi.
So
Thank
I
you very
guess
much.
Au revoir. I guess we'll have another time at doing something else. All right.
yes, au revoir. But
Au
we
revoir.
Thank you.
love to have you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Abby too. for all-
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Oh, that was great. Mommy is glad she joined that.
All right. That was good. All right. So I just want to say, would you like to chat a little? I would like to, for one thing, just say how glad I am that you all stayed on, including Lisa, who probably wasn't sure she wanted to. But anyway, I just want to say how glad I am that all of you are on. And, I have to say that over the next few weeks, months, I want to share with you, just so you know this. Oh, I'm still recording.